Hi everyone. I'm Aurora from Susan's family. Today we're working on the Chinese aesthetic series, Money. 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 Blooming rich style. This ornament consists of a flower pot, accessories, and assembly. Crochet the flower pot and accessories in sequence. Then assemble them at the end. Let's first learn how to crochet the flower pot. The flower pot is divided into the main part, the fabric piece and assembly. Let's start by learning how to crochet the main part. The main part is worked on an acrylic board, crocheting in rounds counterclockwise. The stitches used include X for single crochet, V for single crochet increase, A for single crochet decrease, T for half double crochet, F for double crochet. Before we begin crocheting, let's first familiarize ourselves with the chart. Row indicates the row number. Round indicates the round number. The stitch instructions column shows the stitch techniques used for crocheting that particular row, along with any increases or decreases. The stitch count column indicates the total number of stitches. After completing all the stitches in that row, before crocheting, peel off the film on the acrylic board first. There is film on both sides. If it's difficult to remove, you can use scissors to help. After settling it, continue crocheting. Here I'll demonstrate the crocheting method using this small acrylic board. Leave a tail and make a slip knot. This loop is slightly larger. Insert the hook into any space and pull the yarn through. Then adjust the size of the loop. The loop should be higher than the outer edge of the acrylic board. After completing, start with the first round. First, chain 1 as the turning chain for single crochet. This turning chain is not marked in the table. In actual circular crocheting, you always start by making a turning chain. The turning chain for single crochet doesn't count as one stitch. The stitches in parentheses indicate a group. X number indicates the number of times to repeat the pattern. Curly brackets and parentheses have the same meaning. First, work the stitches inside the parentheses. That is, make 2 single crochets in the first space. When crocheting, place the starting tail above the hook and catch it together to hide it. The loops you crochet should go beyond the outer edge of the acrylic board. Finish this stitch. That's the first stitch. Crochet 1 more stitch. Now the stitches in parentheses are done. You need to repeat this 3 times total. Work the stitches in parentheses 2 more times. After finishing, in the next space, crochet 3 single crochets. One, 2, 3. Now the stitch pattern within the larger brackets is completed. You need to do this a total of 9 times. Continue crocheting and finish the remaining 8 times. After completing the first round, remember to check the number of stitches. Since there are fewer spaces in the sample, there will also be fewer groups. Therefore, the final total stitch count should not be used as a reference. Refer to the chart for the exact stitch count. After checking the stitch count, slip stitch into the first stitch of this round. Pull tight. The joining slip stitch does not count as a stitch. You need to tighten it. The slip stitch is not indicated in the form. In reality, when crocheting in rounds, always finish by joining with a slip stitch and pull tight. Now the first round is complete. Next, crochet the second round. First, make 1 chain stitch as the turning chain for single crochet. The turning chain for single crochet doesn't count as a stitch. I'll emphasize this again. When crocheting in rounds, you always start with the turning chain. You can slightly tighten it. I won't repeat this later on. Now let's work the stitches in the parentheses. 4 single crochets. 1 single crochet increase, A single crochet increase means making 2 single crochets in the same stitch. That completes the single crochet increase. Then make 4 more single crochets. That concludes one group. Continue to finish the remaining groups. After completing, join with a slip stitch on the first stitch. Tighten it up. Please pay attention. At the end of each round, you need to slip stitch back to the first stitch. After completing the slip stitch, tighten the yarn. This marks the completion of the second round. Continue with the third round. Start with 1 chain as your beginning chain. Crochet evenly means crocheting 1 stitch corresponding to another. Here, work single crochets. Finish crocheting this round. Once done, slip stitch back to the first stitch. Tighten the yarn. This marks the completion of the third round. You can take a look now. The texture on the right side of the fabric is clear. The texture on the wrong side is blurry. For the upcoming 4th to 7th rounds, the stitches used have all been demonstrated earlier. The stitch instruction will also be similar to before. Everyone just needs to follow the stitch order in the table. Just crochet in their respective positions. The fabric will naturally curl after completing the crocheting. Turn the right side out. Take a look. A raised texture on the front side indicates 1 round. When counting rounds, just count these raised textures. The acrylic board shows round 1. Don't forget the beginning chain and slip stitches while crocheting. Continue onward using the method learned earlier. Refer to the chart to finish this section. After completing this part, it should have an outward expanding shape. If it turns inward or stands straight, you should adjust the tension in your hands, or switch to a different hook size and recrochet. Next, continue with round 8. I'll demonstrate using this small sample. Start with 1 beginning chain. Refer to the pattern. First, crochet the corresponding number of single crochets. After completing, work 1 single crochet decrease. Let's take a look first. The stitch looks like these 2 loops. The one closer to you is the front loop. The other one is the back loop. First, insert your hook into the front loop of the left single crochet stitch. Then insert it into the front loop of the adjacent single crochet stitch. Yarn over and draw through the first 2 loops. There are 2 loops remaining. Yarn over and draw through the remaining loops once. The single crochet decrease is now complete. The braid on the upper right is the resulting stitch. This method of picking up only the front loops to work a decrease is called an invisible decrease. When using this technique for crocheting, the gaps between stitches are relatively smaller. The overall fabric looks more delicate. That completes one group within the parentheses. Continue by working the corresponding number of single crochets again. After completing, make 1 single crochet decrease. Insert the hook through the front loops of the next 2 adjacent stitches on the left side. Draw the yarn through the first 2 loops on the hook. Yarn over and draw through the remaining loops once. The single crochet decrease is now complete. Continue to refer to the pattern chart to crochet the remaining part. Finish with a slip stitch. That's how you complete the 8th round. For the following rounds from 9 to 21, keep crocheting in rounds while following the form. Everyone, please complete it. Below, I'll demonstrate the 22nd round with a small sample. Start with 1 beginning chain. Flow means crochet in the front loop only. That is, the strand of yarn in front of the stitch. For this round, you will crochet into the front half of each stitch. Follow the chart to complete this round. After finishing, End with a slip stitch on the first stitch. The 22nd round is now complete. The 23rd round involves crocheting single crochets evenly in rounds. Everyone, please finish it. After completing, continue with the 24th round. Start with 1 beginning chain. Then crochet the group in the parentheses. That is, 1 single crochet, 2 half double crochets. Two half double crochets, and 1 single crochet. This completes one group. Continue crocheting the remaining groups. After finishing, leave a yarn tail and fasten off. Thread the yarn tail onto a sewing needle. At the position of the second stitch, insert the sewing needle from front to back. Insert it into the back loop of the last stitch. Slightly tighten the loop to form this shape. Then weave in the yarn tail on the wrong side of the fabric piece. Trim any excess yarn tails. This completes the main part of the flower pot. Next, we will learn how to make the fabric piece. The piece starts with a magic ring. Crochet in rounds counterclockwise. Begin with the adjustable magic ring. After completing, make 1 beginning chain. Crochet 7 single crochets into the ring. Tighten the magic ring after finishing. Then slip stitch into the first stitch. Pull tight. The first round is now complete. For the remaining rounds of the fabric piece, the stitches used have all been demonstrated earlier. Refer to the chart and finish the remaining part. Pay attention when crocheting the last few rounds. Align the fabric piece with the 21st round of the main body. This will align the remaining back loops of this round. They should be roughly the same size. If there's a significant difference, you can add more rounds according to the crochet pattern, or skip a few rounds, until the sizes are approximately the same. After confirming the final number of rounds, break the yarn, leaving a tail of about 50 centimeters. That concludes the explanation of how to make the fabric piece. Next, let's learn how to assemble. Grab the main piece and the stuffing. First, evenly lay a layer of stuffing inside the main piece. Then take out the weighting beads. Spread them evenly inside. Then repeat the method of adding a layer of stuffing, followed by a layer of weighting beads, to fill the inside of the main piece. Pay attention not to go beyond the 21st round. You can leave some distance. This will make the sewing easier later on. After stuffing, Thread the yarn tail onto a darning needle. Sew the stitches of the piece to the 21st round of the main part. Specifically under the back loop, where there is a horizontal bar. While sewing, you can follow a pattern, or divide the piece evenly before sewing. The method to divide the piece evenly is to roughly separate it into equal parts using stitch markers. If you don't have stitch markers, you can use paper clips or safety pins as substitutes. You can divide it into more sections here. After dividing, secure it to the main part. When sewing later, sew between the two stitch markers. If the number of rounds on the piece hasn't changed, you can sew according to the pattern. The pattern is 10 stitches of the piece sewn to 7 stitches of the main part. First, sew by matching each stitch once. Remember to sew under the horizontal line of the back loop. Then sew 2 stitches of the piece to 1 stitch of the main part once. That is, after sewing 1 stitch with 1-to-1 correspondence, pick up the next stitch of the piece and sew it once at the corresponding position on the main part. Following the pattern of 1-to-1 and 2-to-1, repeat sewing twice more. Then sew once again with 1-to-1. This way, you've sewn 10 stitches of the piece to 7 stitches of the main part. Below, everyone can follow the method demonstrated here, and choose to sew according to the pattern based on actual conditions, or mark with stitch markers before sewing. Note: when you're almost done sewing a round, continue to stuff some more filling inside. It should be firmly stuffed. The flower pot shouldn't have any dents. You can use a crochet hook to help with stuffing. Then continue sewing the remaining part. After sewing, weave in the ends inside the flower pot. That's all for the assembly. Next, let's learn about accessories. The accessories include ginkgo leaves, flowers and decorative patches. Let's start with the ginkgo leaves. Use a chain stitch to begin. Work back and forth. For the last round, crochet in rounds. First, leave a tail of about 30 centimeters. Then make 2 chain stitches. Next, start crocheting at the second to last stitch. W stands for 3 single crochets into 1 stitch. Crochet 3 single crochets into 1 stitch. Here, pick up the top thread of the chain to crochet. 1, 2, 3. The 3 single crochets in one stitch are now done. At this point, the first row is completed. Now move on to the second row. Square brackets mean crocheting in the same position. First, make 2 chain stitches. These serve as the turning chains for half double crochets. This counts as 1 stitch. Then, turn the workpiece counterclockwise. Continue on the next stitch below. Crochet 1 half double crochet. This completes the stitches in the brackets. TV stands for half double crochet increase. The technique for this stitch is to crochet 2 half double crochets in the same position. This completes 1 half double crochet increase. Crochet 1 more stitch. After completing this, the second row is done. Next, crochet the third row. Start with 2 chains as beginning chain. This counts as 1 stitch. After turning the piece, continue on the last stitch on the far right, and work 1 double crochet. Then you will encounter EV, which indicates treble crochet increase. The technique for this stitch is to crochet 2 treble crochets in the same position. Start with 1 treble crochet. Yarn over the hook twice. Insert the hook and draw the yarn through. Repeat this 3 times. The treble crochet is completed. Then work another treble crochet in the same stitch position. Yarn over the hook twice again. Draw the yarn through. Yarn over and pull through both loops on your hook. Repeat this 3 times. The treble crochet is now done. That completes 1 treble crochet increase. Next is the EN3093 in the brackets. E stands for treble crochet. Work 1 treble crochet first. Then chain 4. After that, make 1 slip stitch in the same stitch position. Move on to the next bracket. On the left side, work 1 slip stitch. Chain 4. And work 1 treble crochet. After that, work another treble crochet increase. Pick up both loops of the chain from the beginning stitch. Work 1 double crochet and 1 half double crochet. That completes the third row. Now move on to the fourth round. Cut a 40 cm length of copper wire and set it aside for use. For this round, wrap the copper wire together as you crochet. Make 1 beginning chain. Then along the edge of the first 3 rows, work 5 single crochets. The placement of the single crochets should be evenly distributed. As you crochet, place the copper wire above the hook. Crochet them together. Then at the spot where you made the beginning chain, which is also the insertion point for the first row, work 1 single crochet, 1 chain and 1 single crochet. For the second single crochet, wrap the other end of the copper wire as you crochet. Then along the left side edge, work 5 single crochets. Pay attention to the yarn tail from the beginning chain. You don't need to wrap it. After you finish, take a look. The third row is split into two halves. One half has 5 stitches. First, on the right half, work 3 chains and 1 single crochet in each stitch. Be mindful not to miss the turning chain position of the third row. After finishing, the copper wire will roughly fold in half. Adjust it slightly. Once completed, there will be 2 chain braids in the middle. One side has 4 stitches. Make 1 slip stitch in each stitch. The slip stitches here should not be pulled too tight. Do not wrap the copper wire below every other stitch. Continue wrapping on the next stitch. This indicates skipping 2 stitches without working them. Here, you skip 2 slip stitches. Continue to make 4 slip stitches on the left chain braid. Then move to the left half. Work 1 single crochet and 3 chains in each stitch. Don't forget to work the last stitch. After finishing, make a slip stitch in the first stitch of the round. Pull tight. Then break the yarn and weave in the ends. Now the ginkgo leaf is complete. Next, let's learn how to make the flower. The flower consists of the main body of the flower core, the stem, the calyx, and the leaves. There are 5 parts in total. The only difference among these 5 parts is the length of the stem. All other parts are identical. Crochet each part separately first, then assemble them together. Let's start with the main body of the flower. Use the magic ring method to begin. Crochet in rounds counterclockwise. Use variegated yarn for crocheting. There's no need for a special color starting point. Just crochet directly. When assembling at the end, just assemble by separating similar colors. Crochet up to the 11th round while referring to the chart. The crochet techniques have been demonstrated before, so I won't repeat the explanations. This is a sample swatch crocheted up to the 11th round. Stuff it with filling cotton inside. Try to stuff it as firmly as possible. Then crochet the 12th round afterward. After finishing, take a look. The first 12 rounds form a small sphere. No need to break the yarn. Continue repeating the crochet technique from the 2nd to the 12th round. Do it 3 more times. Remember to add stuffing while crocheting. This is the sample after completing the last round. Leave a tail and then fasten off the yarn. Thread the yarn tail onto a darning needle. Pick up the front loops of the last round one by one. Then tighten the tail afterward. The opening is now closed. Then sew the opening and the starting point together. Sew by picking up the stitches from the beginning chain and the edge of the last round. Be sure to tighten the yarn tail while sewing. Pay attention to sewing in a circular motion. For areas inside that are hard to reach, you can rotate the small ball and continue sewing. After sewing around once, weave in the ends and fasten off. This completes one flower main part. Next, make the flower core. The flower core starts with an adjustable magic ring. Crochet in rounds clockwise. Start with an adjustable magic ring. Then crochet 4 chain stitches. On the first stitch from the end, pick up the back ridge of the chain. That is, this horizontal yarn on the back. Work 2 slip stitches evenly. Be careful not to tighten the slip stitches too much. Then work 1 half double crochet and 1 single crochet. Next, crochet 1 half double crochet on the starting chain. 2 chain stitches. On the first stitch from the end, pick the back loop and work 2 slip stitches. Then crochet 1 half double crochet and 1 single crochet on the starting chain. Starting from this half double crochet, to the position of this single crochet is 1 group. Repeat crocheting for 3 groups. After finishing, tighten the magic ring loop. Then find the 4 chain stitches at the start of the round. Slip stitch into the second chain. Pay attention to picking up the chain stitches. Crochet with these 2 strands of yarn. Do not pull the slip stitch too tight. Leave a yarn tail and then cut the yarn. Bring the yarn tail to the wrong side of the fabric piece. Now one flower core is made. Next, crochet the flower stem. Start with an adjustable magic ring. Crochet in rounds counterclockwise. Before starting, prepare a shaping wire with the required length. Fold both ends in half. Fold the other end downward after leaving a small distance. Then press the folded part downward. This creates 2 loops on the left and right. Twist these 2 loops a few times to secure them. This forms a frame. Move on to crocheting the first round. This is what the swatch looks like after completing the first round of single crochets. Place this frame into the magic ring loop. Then tighten the magic ring. Mindful that the right side is facing up. After completing, slip stitch into the first stitch. The first round is complete. Continue crocheting round 2. Chain 1 to begin. Then pick up the back loop of stitches. Work single crochets into each stitch in sequence. After finishing, slip stitch into the first stitch. The second round is complete. For the remaining section afterward, work single crochets evenly into each stitch. Crochet the required number of rounds. Note that the crochet technique for the flower stems is identical here. The only difference is the number of rounds worked without increasing or decreasing. Refer to the chart for the specific number of rounds. After completing a few rounds, stuff the fiber fill around the shaping wire. You can use scissors to assist if needed. Continue crocheting while stuffing the filling as you go. Follow this demonstration for the remaining work. Refer to the pattern chart to finish the flower stem section. After completing, leave a long yarn tail and fasten off. That concludes the flower stem section. Next, we will crochet the calyx. The calyx is crocheted into the remaining front loops of the flower stem. I'll continue demonstrating with this sample. Position the tail of the flower stem towards yourself. Join the yarn in any remaining front loop from the first round. Adjust the size of the loop as needed. Begin working this round. Work 1 chain. Then follow the chart to complete this round. While crocheting, place the yarn tail for joining above the hook and work it in together. After finishing, join with a slip stitch in the first stitch. Pull tight. The first round is complete. Trim the starting yarn tail. Move on to round 2. Work 2 chains in the first stitch. Work 1 double crochet. On the left side of the stitch, work 1 treble crochet. Work 1 ch1 picot. The technique for this stitch is, first, work 1 chain, then pick up the front loop of the stitch below and the left thread. Work 1 slip stitch together. Tighten. The ch1 picot is completed. Continue at the insertion point of the treble crochet, work 1 double crochet. Work 2 chains and 1 slip stitch. Pull the slip stitch tight. Move on to the group in the curly brackets. Slip stitch on the left side of the stitch. Work 2 chains. Work 1 double crochet. In the next stitch, work 1 treble crochet. Work 1 ch1 picot. Start with 1 chain, then pick up the front 2 loops of the stitch. Work 1 slip stitch, tighten it. That completes this stitch. Work 1 double crochet next. Then work 2 chains and 1 slip stitch. That completes the group in the curly brackets. Continue repeating this pattern for a total of 3 groups. After finishing, secure with 1 chain. Leave a yarn tail and fasten off. The calyx is now completed. Let's move on to crocheting the leaves. Start with a foundation chain. Crochet in rounds counterclockwise. Start with 10 chain stitches. Then take out the copper wire. Leave a small section of it. Place it above the crochet hook and secure it together. Continue from the second to last stitch. Pick up the back ridge of the chain. Crochet 1 single crochet. One half double crochet. 4 double crochets. Two half double crochets. Finally, on the last chain, crochet 2 single crochets. One chain stitch. Pick the back ridge of the last stitch, which is this position. Crochet 1 slip stitch. Then crochet 1 single crochet in the chain position below. Next, at the left chain, which is the 2 strands of the remaining starting chain. Begin to crochet 2 half double crochets on it. Four double crochets. One half double crochet and a single crochet increase. After completing, make a slip stitch in the first stitch. Leave a yarn tail and fasten off. Also trim the excess copper wire. This completes the leaf. Next, we'll assemble the different parts of the flower. First, take out the main part of the flower and the flower core. Leave a yarn tail on the flower core and fasten off. Use hot glue to attach the flower core to the center of the main flower part. If you don't have a hot glue gun, you can use the inner flame of a lighter to melt it before attaching. Be mindful of safety when using. Then take out the flower stem. Fold the middle frame outward. Assemble it together with the calyx and the main part of the flower. Thread the reserved yarn from the calyx onto a sewing needle, then start sewing. Align with the center of the main flower part and sew accordingly. When you reach the frame position, be sure to sew a few stitches there to secure it. This will make the assembly more secure. Continue sewing around this circle. After finishing, weave in the ends and fasten off. This is what the flower stem and the main part of the flower look like after assembly, the completed appearance. Since there's a frame in the middle, you can adjust the shape of the flower according to your personal preference. Next, secure the leaves. Here, the leaves can be attached to the flower stem, or they can also be assembled under the calyx. You can refer to the actual project for the specific position, or adjust it based on your personal preference. The assembly method is the same for all parts. Directly cut off the yarn tail of the leaf starting chain. Thread the tail end onto a darning needle. Then twist the copper wire here a few times. Fold it in half and twist a few more times. Next, at the desired position, use the crochet hook to enlarge the stitch a bit. Insert the copper wire of the leaf. Then use the remaining strand of the leaf to sew together the base of the leaf and the designated sewing position. After sewing, weave in the ends. Then adjust the shape of the leaf. The leaf is now secured. That concludes the assembly of the flower. Next, let's learn how to crochet the decorative patch. The patch forms the shape of the character, faux. It is divided from top to bottom into sections 1 through 7. Let's start with section 1. Begin with 2 chain stitches. Work on the second to last stitch. Pick up 1 strand of the chain stitch. Crochet 1 half double crochet, 1 chain stitch and 1 slip stitch. Pull tight. Reserve a yarn tail before cutting the yarn. Section 1 is complete. Next, let's work on section 2. Start with 24 chain stitches. On the second to last stitch, pick up 1 strand of the chain stitch. Crochet 2 single crochets. 19 slip stitches. Don't pull the slip stitches too tight here. Then crochet 1 single crochet. Crochet 1 single crochet on the last stitch, 1 chain stitch and 1 slip stitch. Pull tight. Reserve a yarn tail and fasten off. Section 2 is complete. The remaining sections 3 and 6 are worked in a similar way. Just pick up the back ridge of the chain stitches to crochet. The crochet techniques have been demonstrated before. Refer to the chart and finish sections 3 and 6. After finishing, pay attention to place them in the correct order by section to prevent misalignment. After completing section 6, crochet 1 chain stitch to secure, then fasten off the yarn. Continue crocheting the right side of section 7 on top. First, align the stitches of section 6 to the right. Then count the 3rd stitch from the bottom upward. Join the yarn on this stitch. Then work 3 chains. Next, in the back loop of the second to last stitch, crochet 2 loose slip stitches. After that, on the 4th stitch of section 6, crochet 1 slip stitch into the stitch above it. Then leave a tail and fasten off the yarn. Pull this yarn tail to the wrong side of the fabric. The right side of section 7 is now complete. Now let's work on the left side of section 7. Join the yarn on the 4th stitch counted from the bottom upward. After joining, chain 4. Starting from the second to last stitch, pick the back loop and crochet 3 slip stitches. Then on the 3rd stitch, crochet 1 slip stitch into the stitch below it. After that, secure the yarn tail. The left side is now complete. Section 7 is now finished. Let's continue with section 4. Start by making 8 chains. Then slip stitch into the first chain to form a ring. This creates a chain circle. Now crochet 12 single crochets into this hole, working in rounds. That means you start with 1 beginning chain, and then work 12 single crochets. After finishing, slip stitch into the first stitch. Leave a yarn tail and fasten off. The starting yarn tail can be cut directly. That's it for section 4. The technique for section 5 is identical to section 4. Refer to the demonstration and follow the chart to complete it. Now let's move on to handling the decorative patches. Find a smooth side. Take section 1 and trim off any excess tails. Then apply glue to the wrong side. Attach it onto the smooth surface. Make sure to glue in the yarn tails as well. Next, take out section 2. Secure the yarn tails. Apply glue to the back. Be mindful not to use too much glue to avoid leaks. Adjust the shape on the smooth surface. Remember to refer to the actual project. Press to fix it in place until the glue dries. Afterward, you can remove it. Take a look. Sections 1 and 2 together form a bow character head. Like this, after applying glue to the wrong side of the fabric. Secure the yarn tails and shape on the smooth surface. Fix all decorative patches in sequence. Afterwards, set them aside for later use. Next, let's learn how to assemble. The assembly is divided into assembling flowers, pom-pom decorations, ginkgo leaves, coin decorations, tassel decorations, and remaining accessories. Let's start with learning how to assemble the flowers. Let's take a look at the actual project. Here it is roughly divided into 2 layers. The front layer has 3 flowers. They are all relatively short. The 2 flowers at the back are taller, and they are arranged in a staggered manner. The assembly position can be referenced from the actual project, or you can adjust according to your preference. Below, I will demonstrate the assembly of the flowers. Here I will use a small sample for demonstration. This small sample is only used for demonstrating the assembly process. It should not be used as an actual reference. Thread the reserved yarn tail through a darning needle. Then, on the fabric piece that represents the flower pot, insert the shaping wire at a proper position. You can first use the crochet hook to widen the space a bit, and then insert the shaping wire. After it reaches the bottom, use the needle to sew together the last round of stitches and the fabric piece. The sewing method can be random, just make sure it's secured tightly. After sewing, weave in the ends and fasten off the yarn. Once assembled, you can adjust the shape according to your preference. Next, let's learn how to make the pom-pom decorations. The pom-pom decoration has a copper wire frame. Then, pom-poms are glued onto it. It is divided into 5 small groups in total. The chart will indicate the length of the longest copper wire within one group. The copper wire length here refers to the length after folding it in half. You can cut the same length of copper wire based on the number in a group, or reduce the length by 0.5 to 1 centimeter sequentially according to the count. Here, I will demonstrate using 5 as an example. Among these 5, one in the middle is the primary branch. The rest are secondary branches. Start by making the secondary branches first. Before making them, you need to prepare the line segments. I will demonstrate using cotton yarn. Take about 50 centimeters of thread. Pick up the thread at the middle position. Take 2 strands. For the subsequent yarn over, just use these 2 strands to wrap the yarn. Here are the 5 copper wires that have already been prepared. After folding them all in half, take one out. Use your finger to pick up a little glue. Apply it to one end of the copper wire. Take the prepared yarn and wrap it round the copper wire. Try to yarn over as evenly as possible. Make sure the copper wire doesn't show through. Keep applying a little glue while wrapping to secure it in place. After wrapping a short distance, about 3 centimeters, the exact length can be adjusted according to preference. Tie a knot on the copper wire to fix it. This way, one branch is prepared. That's how you prepare it. This way, one branch is prepared. If you need to add small decorations while wrapping the yarn, you can thread the decorations onto the yarn beforehand. They will be secured directly onto the copper wire as you wrap. This is how you incorporate decorations. Following this method, finish making the remaining branches. Then proceed to make the primary branch. Here, the primary branch has already been wrapped for a certain distance. Continue applying glue and attach the branches. While wrapping the yarn, if you run out of yarn, simply take another piece of yarn. Start wrapping above the end of the previous yarn. Weave the excess tail in as you continue wrapping. Keep wrapping until you reach the desired length. Then tie a knot to secure it. Cut off the excess copper wire and yarn tails. You can apply a little glue to further secure it. This completes the frame. Pay attention to the length of each branch on the frame. The positions can all be adjusted according to your preference. You can adjust everything based on what you like. Then stick a pom-pom on each branch and the primary branch. After sticking, press it slightly. It will be more secure this way. This completes one pom-pom decoration. Follow this demonstration to make the rest of the pom-pom decorations. Pay attention to the differences in length. Now take out the ginkgo leaves. Tidy up the shape of the leaves. This will make the leaves more spread out. After completing, continue to deal with the copper wire section. The remaining part of the copper wire shouldn't be too long. It should be around 5 centimeters. You can refer to the actual project for the specific length, or adjust according to your preference. Next, take out the alcohol glue. Refer to the yarn over method used in the pom-pom decoration. Use it to wrap the copper wire. This completes the ginkgo leaf. Next, let's make the coin decoration. Take about 6 centimeters of copper wire. Pass it through the middle of the coin. Fold the wire in half. Position the fold at one corner of the square. Then twist 2 rounds to secure it. The coin decoration is now done. Below, we will make the tassel decoration. Take 4 strands of yarn, each about 30 centimeters long. Thread them through a needle. You can use any sewing needle from home. Pass it through the middle position at the top of the tassel. Then roughly align both ends of the yarn tails. Next, pass them through the 2 holes of 3 golden buttons one by one. Note that this side is the right side, and this side is the wrong side. Each time, insert from the right side. Exit from the wrong side. This way, you've threaded through 3 buttons. Afterward, take the other end of the thread and thread it onto the sewing needle. Pass it through the 2 holes on the backside of these 3 golden buttons. That is, each time, insert from the wrong side. Exit from the right side. Be careful not to pass the needle through the line segment, to avoid difficulty in pulling the thread later. Adjust the 3 buttons a little. After threading, tie 2 simple knots with the yarn tails to secure them. This way, the tassel decoration is complete. I will demonstrate the assembly of other decorations using this small sample. Let's take the pom-pom decoration as an example. At the spot where you want to place the pom-pom decoration, use a crochet hook to slightly widen the area. Then apply glue on the bottom of the pom-pom decoration. Be mindful not to use too much. Insert it about 1 centimeter into the corresponding position. Press it for a while to make it more secure. For the rest of the pom-pom decorations, ginkgo leaf and osmanthus decorations, assemble them in the same way. All installation positions can be adjusted. Let's take a look at the actual project. The pom-pom decorations are attached to the fabric piece. And also onto the flowers. The ginkgo leaves are as well. Refer to the actual project and your preference to adjust and attach them in the proper positions. Next, take out the coin decorations. At the spot where you want to install them, use a crochet hook to pick up about one single crochet segment. Widen it and then thread the copper wire through. You can also apply some alcohol glue to secure it. Then bend the copper wire towards the coin. You can also twist the copper wire to reinforce it. Press it down, and trim off the excess part. Note that the wire is usually pressed on the wrong side. So make sure the copper wire doesn't extend past the right side. Now one coin decoration is assembled. Finally, assemble the flower pot. There are 2 ribbons in total. The colors here are not for reference. Take out a narrower ribbon, wrap it around the indented part of the flower pot. Go around for one full circle. Make sure the slightly smoother side of the ribbon faces outward. Adjust the overlapping point to the left edge of the front side. Use alcohol glue or a sewing needle to secure the overlapping part. Cut off any excess ribbon. Then take out the tassel decoration. Thread the yarn tail onto a darning needle. Continue adjusting the overlapping position. Then secure the tassel decoration at the bottom. The method is random. Next, take out a wider ribbon. Tie a bow, roughly folded in half in the middle. Pinch 2 loops on each end. Tie them together with a knot. Flip to the other side. Pass your thumb through the 2 loops. Grab the remaining ribbon and adjust it. Make sure the loop sizes on both sides are consistent and pull tight. Then trim the excess ribbon. The frayed edges of the ribbon can be singed with a lighter to prevent coming loose. Next, take this bow and glue it onto the overlapping position of the previous ribbon. You can use hot melt glue for a more secure attachment. Pay attention to only glue the middle position. Finally, at an appropriate position on the flower pot, glue the decorative patch. This completes the assembly. Up to this point, the entire decoration piece is completed. If you have any questions during the process, don't hesitate to reach us via our website, Susan's Family, supporting your handwork experience, sharing the joy of life. Thank you all for watching. We will see you in the next episode.